In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boys, CryptoKeeper, BlockchainCrusader, and it is a special Saturday night. We've got a debate, ladies and gents. We've got the one and only Crypto Mason and Joshua Jake. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Phenomenal, man. I think Mason's a little a little out right now.
Very good. Am I lagging?
Very good. Yeah,
you're coming back.
Just a little bit. Are we good?
It's
All right.
it's just you know, when you come from way up north, right? You get into that other country up north, and all of a sudden the lags want to happen to you. No, we're super glad you guys are here. We're gonna have some fun tonight. If you guys haven't seen any of our debates, we ultimately are going to roll through a few questions and have some fun with it. We're going to be educational. If you guys are in the chat, please be at least, respectful, but let's blow it up. Let's have some fun. Tonight, we are going to also be doing, if you haven't heard about our NFT, we have Danger Close Alpha. We're going to be giving away some whitelist spots. You've got to be in our Discord. The link is down below the video, so jump in there if you're trying to get whitelisted for that. Our saying has been your metaverse character is not going to save you should the world go sideways. And we're kind of bringing the prepping community and the crypto community together, and super excited about that. Miguel, you got anything before we kick it off, brother?
Yeah, man. I'm excited. We're having these guys on here, so let's get it.
Let's get it. So, gents, let me ask both of you this. I guess I'll just start off with you, Mason. Why did you get into crypto?
Ooh, why did I get into crypto? Well, in 2016/2017, my sort of philosophical and spiritual interests led me to Bitcoin, because it was just such an interesting idea of like a currency that's like kind of anti-government, anti-establishment, and like the people were making a currency, and it was really intriguing. So I started studying Bitcoin a little bit, and then that led me into altcoins. But the main thing was this philosophical reasoning of like the people making their own currency for once. So that is why I got in. Also to make money, of course. There was a lot of money being made. I saw the classic like Bitcoin millionaire stories, and it definitely intrigued me.
Dope, dude. Joshua, you got kind of the same story, or is yours a little different?
A little different, actually. I think for about the first 6 months, when I first found about crypto, it was back in 2020, late 2020. And it was my cousin and brother-in-law started talking to me about XRP. So I was actually only into XRP for about 6 months. And at first it was kind of just, they're like, dude, you can make a ton of money off this. They showed me their portfolio. This was back when XRP ran from like probably 8 cents to 30 cents. And they were like up a ton. So they're all ecstatic. And so I hopped in around 25 to 30 cents. We obviously saw a dump back in COVID and it went down to 8 cents. Now my average buy-in was roughly 17 cents. But, kind of, it just opened my eyes. I realized there's so much wrong on a monetary, like just from a monetary standpoint, just globally. It took me down a huge rabbit hole. I followed, like Moon Lambo, watched every single video for probably 6 months, Dusty Crypto, like all the OG XRP holders. But there was a point in time, this was like right when I was in college. And so I was going to school for marketing, so video production. I wanted to do stuff with Nike, and I was starting to live stream, do esports. And I remember a time for Doge. This was actually about a year and a half ago. And this was, I had known a little bit about the crypto space, primarily XRP. So I was a maxi when I first started, hardcore maxi, one and only. But Dogecoin started pumping one day. So I made a play on it live on stream, and I ended up getting way more viewers. So from that day forth, I literally I have a book right next to me. I call it my book of 100 white papers. I studied the first 100 market cap cryptos at the time, and just kind of went from there.
All right, Miguel, let's kick us off with the first question. Thanks for giving us the little intro there, guys. Just wanted to kind of see where you're coming from. Miguel, kick it off, bro.
Yeah, so for the first question of the debate, HBAR, centralized or decentralized? Joshua, Jake, why don't you take that first?
So the centralization by nature, the whole hash graph, like their whole consensus and everything is decentralized by nature. The term centralization comes to their council members, that it's controlled by a sole group and entity of, large organizations. And a lot of people, that's where you run into, philosophies and people coming into this space because they're anti-corporation, anti-government. But so, we can sit here and argue based off, the decentralization, because there's only 39 council members, and at the moment there's 25. I think we just onboarded another one. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mason. But what I look at it is with any technology that is emerging from this space, there's two things I look for in a crypto that I've kind of just developed over the last 2 years of just being in the space, and that is I'm looking for a product and customer acquisition. So Hedera's council, with the Hedera tokenization service, the consensus service, and the organizations backing it, which are in a democratic policy. I mean, they get voted in and out every 2 years. They can only be in, or 3 years, and they can only be in for 6 years max before another organization takes over. When you see Boeing Airlines, Google, literally some of the biggest companies in the world that have the largest government contracts, all I see is that customer acquisition standpoint. And they're LLCing into Hedera. So they actually become part of this company. So it's not like they're just going to partner with it and let it feather out. It's their company. They're a part of this council. So I would say it's decentralized. Again, that's the term, but I would say it's more prominent and uses, centralization to its advantage, which is, a democracy.
So I would argue that we are starting to live in a technocracy, right? So what you just explained was, well, you guys started off with, hey, at least Mason was talking more about this, but just like, hey, got into Bitcoin because it was this government thing and it was of the people and da. And I think what we're moving towards with Hedera is a technocracy. We're talking about all these massive companies that are jumping in on the same thing. And so I actually did a little research on this. I actually, full disclosure, held some HBAR, took a bunch of profits, and I don't any longer hold it. I had a problem with something that they were doing as it relates to we'll call it the fog around the world. I'll leave that alone there. But my problems are here. So the Swirlds patent, right? Hashgraph is patented. So one of the major reasons for its success, or for blockchain success, is open source in nature, right? That was like the movement or whatever. Hashgraph is patented though. So the company that holds that patent is Swirlds. I know you guys know this, but for those of you in the chat that don't know this company, so Lehman Baird, I think is how you say his name, owns, he's the Hashgraph developer, and he has licensed it, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, to Hedera for like a 10% fee. And so what it means to me is that the project will never truly belong to the public.
Yeah, 100%. So I think I'm going to let Mason actually take this over, because I know he can cover this really well as well. But that used to be the case. And Mason, if you kind of want to elaborate just based off what the recent changes are within the council.
It's actually completely open source now. So like, they bought it, right? They bought the patent, or they bought the rights to it, the intellectual property. And this is something like I've seen Charles Hoskinson from Cardano just complain about and rip on Hedera for. And just like you're saying, it won't ever like fit in. I think going open source was like a move towards trying to fit in. Because there's so much.
My understanding, not to cut you off, but my understanding was that it's still permission, that you need an invitation to the network to participate.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got to be part of the club.
Council members are chosen by the node operators, right?
Right.
So, but they have a path to where they're moving towards where a normal person could spin up a node. Like that's on their path to decentralization. And that's the thing a lot of projects have, is this path. Like they don't start decentralized. They start centralized, and they start moving slowly towards decentralization.
Okay.
And the patent too is, I think, controlled by the council now. So they purchased that, and that's now going to be in charge by the actual everybody on the council board. So every 2 years, again, those are revolving doors with new organizations. But as a whole, it would take a mass majority to vote anything against that patent. So it's kind of eliminating that. And again, it's going open source. So
okay.
Yeah, that just changed recently though, like within the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Miguelito?
Yeah, my biggest problem with HBAR and any crypto that comes from the corporate world situation is that I feel they're using crypto as a segue to maneuver their place into a space that is trendy, right? And try to get people. So it's crypto was all about like Mason said, right? A revolution against the traditional system, and now we're allowing the traditional system coming in, and they're using this to take back control over what crypto could be, and navigate it back into a more controlled scenario through the disguise of, oh, we're using decentralized technology, but we're all centralized entities using something under the disguise of decentralization.
I strongly agree with that, actually.
I like it.
I would agree too. I would just kind of follow the fact that like everyone that comes to crypto, it's again for that decentralization, it's for that free markets, to take that power away from the governments, the corporations. So I mean, if you ever watch like Lehman Baird or Mance actually speak upon the project, I know there's issues with the tokenomics, just like every project. I think my favorite tokenomics I've seen is probably Lunaterra, and you don't get close often with that. So, but at the same time, like talking about that revolution, I think these companies know, and they're always going to exist. So something like I've always said is I'm going to capitalize. I'm going to follow the smart money. Your banks, they're not going to go anywhere. A lot of people like with XRP, I want them to replace Swift completely, but just knowing, that banks have billions and billions of dollars, and they are the elites of this circle. They sit at this massive table and they all make these decisions. They're going to profit off it one way or another. So with like Hedera, with their council, when I see, like they have the largest banks, they have the largest law firms, they have payment services in Australia. It's like, they're going to capitalize off that. And I think they're revolutionizing not only obviously towards decentralization, but they are revolutionizing the Web2 space for companies that are centralized, that don't want that control, that don't understand crypto. Because that's their target audience. They're going to be, molding people over that need a consensus service. They need a tokenization service, and they need a council they can trust to really take them to that Web3 scenario.
So I understand that, right? There's always, like you said, follow the money. There's always going to be companies coming in, and people want to make money, and I understand that. But like Nick pointed out, right, there are doing some things with, everybody knows the situation that's happening around the world, and they're using that to their advantage, right? They're using this as something that most people are against, but we are complying, right? I've said this before on stream and other times, is in the crypto space, we are complying with a lot of things that the crypto revolution was against traditionally, just for the advantage to make, and that corrupts what crypto was about originally. And I think that is a mistake that we go down because of greed. So I understand people want to make money. I understand that that is important, but sometimes we need to draw the sand and not allow these corporations, even if they come with the decentralized technology in crypto, to get away with certain things. And a lot of that gets thrown on the side because we just want our bags to pump and we want to make money.
Yeah, I would I agree with that a lot, and I would be lying to every single person on this stream if I looked up into this camera and said that the massive part of what I'm doing in crypto is not about making money. It's about the movement. I would be.
Well, I mean, come on, you hold XRP. That says a lot.
We all know there's 3 smart people in the stream holding XRP and only one that other. But hey,
that's fine.
We'll get there. But yeah, so I would be lying if I said any different. But I do also agree with Miguel that it's hard, because I know that when we allow our greed to take over, sometimes we don't always make the best decisions, and we don't see, because these companies are so big, we're essentially lining the pockets of people who ultimately are going to have power over us to make decisions, even when maybe sometimes we don't realize it. There's so much that happens right now in the background, even with blockchain being public, permissionless for the most part, where we can look at different transactions. There's so many decisions, like you said, with like their council that are happening in the background, that I think that we just need to tread lightly, I guess, is more where I'm coming from. I am about making money. That is a big part of why I'm here. I just think we need to be careful, because we give up too much from what this originally started as. And I think we head towards a path of, hey, it's money or nothing. And that's all I'm here for. So, yeah.
So I want to segue a question real quick off that then. So obviously we're talking about HBAR. I'll focus on HBAR, but I want to ask you too, what are your favorite projects?
ETH and Bitcoin.
Yep.
So exactly. So I don't know about this,
a little sketchy now. JP.
No, it's good. So I'm going to kind of like address this to make a point. So Jack Dorsey, I don't know if you're familiar with his Twitter post from about 4 or 5 months ago. He put out a meme saying, decentralization is kind of a elaborate marketing scheme. Everything at the back end is owned by limited partners or a foundation. You see this with Cardano, you see this with Ethereum. So my question to you would be, at least, as HBAR with the councils doing it publicly, right? They have all these companies that are publicly, you can see everything happening on their ledger within their ecosystem. They're going open source. They have a council that, has to abide by trust. Google's not going to screw over Boeing because that would just be one, bad for business, but that would collapse everything underneath them. So what makes it, fine that you guys are okay with, venture capitalists and like early investors that have large sums and control over Ethereum? Ethereum costs $300,000 for a node. That's only going to become more centralized as everything explodes, especially with the Bored Ape Yacht Club metaverse. Gas fees are going to become more pricey. Nodes are going to increase in value, which over time, there's nothing to allow people like us, everyday people, you have to be disgustingly filthy rich to even have a say within its ecosystem.
I think we live in a capitalistic society, and for us to think that it should be anything different. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and actually we were on Wendy's show yesterday, and what is her name? Miss Teen Crypto was talking about basically things being fair. And I just said, hey, the reality is life is not fair. We ultimately, if we try to set things up to be fair, we are doing one thing. We are headed towards socialism, right? And so I do understand that there are going to be people that make more money than others, that make more decisions than others, that got in earlier than others, that are going to be able to make decisions. I think for me, with HBAR in particular, this is just for me, it is some of the things that they're involved in that I think is absolutely catastrophic for our community. So that's for me.
What happens when they just track all of that stuff on the blockchain, right? Like they didn't have to, they just chose HBAR because it's the fastest, most secure, scalable way to actually track that. What happens when you see, VeChain's involved in that as well. What happens when it's just all of that, this is just on the blockchain? Then are you against the blockchain, right? They just chose HBAR because it's extremely fast to do it. Like I'm sure it doesn't represent like Hedera's beliefs that they're doing that. It represents just the powerfulness of Hedera. That's the reason they chose that blockchain or that hash graph to do it, right? They could have chose anything.
I think even with like chain analysis, because like with chain analysis, I mean, if like comparing with what's going on, even within like Hedera's ecosystem, I'm sure if you've like found false actors or bad actors, from different platforms, obviously Bitcoin's going to be your largest factor, then Ethereum by far. I think Hedera just is more publicly, but that doesn't alter, in my opinion, the actual focus on what Hedera as a council is actually moving forward on.
My answer to what Mason was saying is with the whole HBAR thing is, I understand that they just chose HBAR, things can be tracked in the blockchain, but when there are corporations that we need to trust, even though there's multiple of them, right, we're still trusting these corporations to have the interest of these people that are behind HBAR and are behind the project. We're trusting it. Crypto is not about trust. Crypto is about verifying. And the problem that they chose that to track, that certain thing that we're talking about here. It could be chosen on another blockchain, but the problem is that there is a company that is benefiting from that tracking versus other cryptos, like let's say maybe Bitcoin, right? Even though Bitcoin doesn't have the capability to do it, even if it did, there would be more of a resistance against government actors getting that information from Bitcoin because there is no corporation that is benefiting behind it from it.
Ant pool.
That's all I would say.
Yeah.
Mining pools.
Yeah,
that would be there's 5 mining pools that run all of Bitcoin's mining, like all transactions, all of them feed and funnel to these 5 pools.
Yeah. There's no doubt that
everything has flaws.
I agree with CryptoKeeper. Like I think it's a capitalistic society. That's not going to. That's how the global economy runs, right?
That's actually a fantastic segue, Josh, to move us into the second question. I'm going to move us on to the next one. I know we're on a little bit of a schedule here. So speaking of capitalistic, VXV. So talk to me about what is its token utility. I want to know, we're talking about capitalism, right? I think this is fantastic here. This is a great segue. What the heck is the token utility from VXV?
So it does three things. It provides governance, provenance, and security through ERC20 hashes of hashes on a blockchain for data sets. So vector space, this is a little bit of a mouthful because what they're doing is space biosciences. It's an industry that few people even understand. You need to be a data scientist. You have to be in biotech, whatever, facilitates with what they're using these tokens for is going to be on a much higher scale than any other crypto I've seen personally.
Okay.
But what VXV does is they provide on-demand correlation matrix data sets. What these data sets are is they create baskets through artificial intelligence. So it's AI technology, and they can grab real world data from, it can be from, universities, it could be scientists, real world events, cryptos, stocks, as well as, and kind of just take these and mold these all into something known as a thematic basket. Okay. These thematic baskets can accurately find hidden relationships between whether it's proteins for scientists that are trying to find a cure for cancer, right? They can find relationships that once would have taken scientists, years to go through hundreds and thousands of data points. It does it through an AI system instantly because of the blockchain. It verifies all the secure data and drags that on an
Why do
AI.
we need a token for that?
The hashes of hashes. You have to have a trustless system. So going back to the whole trust, right? The crypto, I'd say, arguably is all about trust, right? It's a trustless system. We don't want to have to. We trust that it's a trustless system because of all the verification through the blockchain and everything. All the hashes of hashes, any type of data that would have been altered, you can go back and see if that was any false misinformation that was provided. So going through, having a token, which is going to allow you to have direct access to not only the wallet and these tokens, but again, it's providing the security for this data. That is what that value is of it. So it's tied directly to the value of a data set, right? If the data set is worth $1 billion to NASA, which they're actually sitting down with Vector Space next week and going over their data sets, their vectors and everything, that equates to the value of how much, that VXV token is worth because it's providing the security for it.
Okay. Miguel?
Yeah, so you're saying that the VXV token is pretty much is being used to make sure that no data is being altered from the data sets as the data sets are being created. Did I understand that correctly?
And then I would be lying if I said I understood the governance and provenance. I've looked through it a bunch, but I do not have a background in data engineering, and there's a lot that matters with provenance when it comes to that factor. That they've spoke on panels with JP Morgan. I've listened to it 100 times, and it goes past my head.
I mean, I completely get what Vector AI is doing, right? And I understand. I've worked with machine learning. I understand that they use these massive data sets to predict things, predict patterns that the average person can't come up with. I've heard the CEO talk about it, showing that if you get certain data sets, you find hidden correlations between different stocks, different things that are by what's happening in the world, and it can allow you to invest better. It can allow you to make better predictions of certain things that are about to happen, and that's cool. I totally get it. I'm a software engineer. I've worked with that stuff. When I see the token outside of the governance, which, like you said, I don't understand that either from what I've read. So I'm assuming a lot of people don't understand what it is either. I just don't see a lot of utility to the token besides just them using it as, hey, pay us in our token so that we give you the data set. And it's just kind of like an internal currency that they use that the company benefits from as the value grows of it. So it's almost like a security, right? It's almost an unregistered security stock, and you're using that same stock to buy their own product. And as it goes up, they benefit and they use it as liquidity within their company. That's all I see. If there's more to that, let me know.
Mason, what you got?
Pretty bullish on VXV. I sold a decent percentage on the KuCoin listing when it got listed on KuCoin.
Man.
Went to $17, and I was in at like $1 to $1.50. Sorry,
I put a sell order at like $22 and it didn't fill, so I wrote that all the way back down.
So I sold a decent percentage, but I am still holding some token utility. I do not understand anything about it to what even just Josh understands, and then there's level, right? Like if you're an actual data scientist, you're gonna or into machine learning, you're gonna understand more. But the token utility is a problem for me as well. One of the other things were that the partnerships were stretched a little bit in terms of the marketing, which is something that XYO and I am in, they do that as well. A lot of coins will stretch their partnerships like that for marketing. But VXV, I'm still bullish. I'm sitting in there at $1 to $1.50. Yeah, VXV.
I'll elaborate off it to hopefully like what the utility wise. So the utility is really the security. I mean, that is going to be the primary security, because you have to think of it. There's very few competitors in the entire space. In fact, they're leading it by an exponential rate. The closest competitor would be Palantir. Are you guys familiar with Palantir as the?
Yeah,
okay, perfect.
That's Peter Thiel behind that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, love. He's involved with a lot, that dude. So which, by the way, that's a whole nother question, but I never saw their exchange list. I know they're launching that bullish exchange. I'm still kind of waiting on that.
Yep. He's speaking at Bitcoin Miami as well.
Hopefully
yeah,
elaborates.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so the utility is really focused on that security, because what Vector Space is doing, it's not even just about like thematic baskets for financial sector. They're sitting down with Morningstar next month doing demos for that. But it really comes to, scientists, data research. It could be engineers, whether it's for architecture, it can be really any data set that is needed globally. So that utility for that security, it allows them to process data sets on a like 1,000,000% times faster than any of their closest competitors.
But what
That's
do you mean
the power
by security?
of crypto.
That's the part I'm not understanding.
So the hashes of hashes on Ethereum's blockchain, that allows them to verify any data that comes through, whether with all their partnerships, where they're now coming out. They were stretched for a long time, but at least now you see UCL speaking on them. They have NASA on their advisory board. They're starting to do a little bit more for PR. So hopefully that keeps kind of rolling out, because I know the next biggest one is SpaceX and Microsoft Azure. That one was a stretch, but they're meeting now this next week, and they're looking to roll that out. But so that's the security, again, is the only thing in the world is cryptography and blockchain technology that can provide that trustless security. So when you have, thousands of scientists, I wouldn't say millions, but thousands of scientists across the world that are, uploading research, whether it's proteins, it's genomics, it's biotech, it's, your financial markets, it's cancer therapeutics. It can take weeks, days, years, and sometimes entire lifespans to, solve a solution to a variant or to a problem that a researcher or scientists or even financial markets such like, asset managers are trying to find, right? There's so many things out there. So having that trustless data allows them to just create billions and billions of these data sets trustlessly. And that is what that comes down.
So yeah, so I think, just to be super simple, we can move on to the next question unless you guys have something else. I think you said it about 10 times. Security. It's definitely a security. I definitely agree with you. We've got venture capital coming into it, operating the platform, and yeah, security. That's how I feel too.
So yeah, let's jump into the next question if nobody else got anything for VXV. Nick, what's the next question? Oh, Bitcoin. Right. Bitcoin. Is it manipulated?
I think we heard, was it Mason talking about, I think, saying Bitcoin was nothing but manipulated. I think it was something like that. Was it you, Mason? Right? Yeah.
On Twitter, I said I believe Bitcoin is 100% manipulated, like to a T.
Let's talk about it, baby. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
I mean, that would be the one to control, right? If there was anything to try control about the crypto market, it's the powers that be behind the scenes would try to control Bitcoin, because if you get Bitcoin, you control the rest, right? And just like Josh said with the 5 mining pools, like that is a major thing. Like that is a major point that people don't look at. And that is why, going way back to the centralization thing, that's why I always say that centralization and decentralization, it should be a spectrum, like measured on a spectrum. So it's not like black or white. It's not that's centralized or that's decentralized. No, it has to be on a spectrum. So I also have this idea of making a CoinMarketCap type website where you can see a little bar that shows how centralized it is based on certain things, like, oh, there's 5 mining pools that will add points to the centralization. Oh, Hedera has 39 corporations that rotate out in a democratic type fashion, right? That will add points like that. So I do believe Bitcoin is 100% manipulated. In one of my videos, I swear I could see a middle finger being formed on the chart, like somebody was flipping us off on one of the time frames. It was crazy. But I think it's completely manipulated, man. That would be the one to get.
Yeah. So you know what? I am not going to debate this too heavily with you. I actually am somewhat on the same page with you, but here's what I see. I see a lot of the just the big money, the whales that I've talked about this 100 different times before, but that have the conversations that all four of us aren't privy to. And I think they are giving each other signals in one way or the other. Hey, this is what's happening. This is where we're at. This is where things are going. I do think that the mining pools do have a massive, what was the mining pool? What was the mining F2 pool? I think was the one that was, I mean, you could literally look at what they were doing and then tell exactly. I mean, literally you could just see it. It was a direct correlation from when they were dumping, when they were pumping, when they were holding. And so, yeah, I think that that's there. I don't know. Here's my problem with this, right? How do we get it any different? Because again, it moves back to, what are we going to do? Are we all going to, so like Joshua, Jake, Mason, BlockchainCrusader, and CryptoKeeper, we all need to divide up our crypto holdings evenly, and we need to pass them out to everybody in the chat right now evenly so that it's all fair to everybody, right? Ultimately, what I'm getting at is that's not real life. So there's always going to be flaws within the system that are going to expose or give opportunity for people to either handle it correctly or not. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm with it. I actually
dystopian.
do. What's that?
Yeah, it's dystopian. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's a deeper
What
problem.
are your takes on it, Josh? Go ahead,
Josh. It's a deeper problem with proof of work. Proof of work does not work. Like proof of work gives an incentive.
But proof of stake is going to be the same thing too, right? Because ultimately, but he who holds all the nodes holds all the power. So how is that any different?
So I think it comes down a lot further than that. And I think this is kind of into that manipulation, which is one of the things I've talked about for a long time was BlackRock. About since May last year, I started tracking the investments they were making into Bitcoin mining companies, because on the back end from May, it was very easy to sell that, you know, the US wanted to be a prominent hash rate provider and control these mining pools on a global scale. That's, again, it comes down to it's 100% controlled. There's just no way it's not. There's an elite group of individuals. I mean, you see it with Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. All these big asset managers are the ones that are controlling and have a huge stake within all these Bitcoin mining facilities. So, you know, you can, when you say that big middle finger on the chart, it's so easy to see. I mean, you see the largest corporations in the world, and there's no way around that. Even if me, you, Mason, everybody decided to distribute our Bitcoin, it doesn't matter unless, you know, we had trillions of dollars. Because
let's ask the maxi in the group, Miguel. What do you got?
So before I answer that, I just want to make a quick shout out to everybody. We are giving away whitelist spots for our NFT drop in our Discord right after this debate about 8:50. So if you're interested in that, join the Discord, do the giveaway, get in there, do your thing. But my answer would be yes. I can see Bitcoin's price being manipulated 100%. Can't deny that, right? Because of the fact that we, the people, don't have the level of capital that institutions and governments have to be able to manipulate prices. The only thing I would say to that is the only reason why Bitcoin is manipulated is because Bitcoin, right, has the most value and is most controlled, right? So if they control Bitcoin, right, like Mason was saying, they're controlling it because it has the most value, the threat to them, unlike any other cryptocurrency, because it was more decentralized, because it is, you know, empowering to the people with the level of growth that people can jump many stages of status from, you know, basically a nobody to multimillionaire, billionaire status in a short few years because of the power that Bitcoin brings and the threat that it is to the traditional system. It is the one to be manipulated by price. And basically the manipulation is to scare the average investor out of Bitcoin, to keep us without Bitcoin so that they can keep accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible, because they're not accumulating it to then just throw it away. They're accumulating because they see the value that Bitcoin brings to the table. Even if its technology is slower than other blockchains being created, the value in Bitcoin alone is seen by these gigantic institutions and investors, and just throw that away because there's something faster down the line eventually.
Anybody else got anything they want to throw in on that? Yay, nay?
I would agree to the net waste aspect. That's why you see like ConocoPhillips, you see all your large institutions using renewable energy, natural gas, whatever it is to mine it. It's because, you know, they have wasted funds and it's so easy. I just visited a Bitcoin mining facility right now that literally runs off natural gas, which was just sitting there. So that was already polluting the world, just being completely wasted. But now there's a reason to actually, the proof of work is where that utility comes from, that they can actually create value, or else it'd just be a net waste, right? So it might as well mine the Bitcoin. But I also think that the conversation can kind of go multiple ways, because I mean, if you think of it as like, you know, what scares me isn't Bitcoin and manipulation. What scares me is inflation and the dollar absolutely dropping, right? It's that a country like Russia is going to, you know, invade, you know, do stuff. I don't want to speak too much because we don't get, so nothing happens to the stream. But, you know, there's a lot of oppression. And so it's going to be a method for third world countries like El Salvador, I think Honduras, Paraguay, Panama, etc., to kind of move away from the actual manipulation, which is the US dollar.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And that's where the threat aspect is, right? Many countries around the world start legalizing Bitcoin, start accepting it as legal tender, and moving away from the domination of the US dollar. And that is a threat to the United States. And we're seeing these conversations coming up, right? We're seeing Russia talking about taking payments in Bitcoin for natural gases. We're seeing what is it? Israel lowering their reserves from US dollars and euros because of the inflation. We're seeing El Salvador, Honduras, like you said, and other countries say, "Hey, we don't care about your dollar, and we're tired of the threat that you have over us as a country. We are independent. We can do what we want, and we're gonna, you know, use this thing." And now we're seeing what's this other country? Not Israel.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose him?
Uh-oh. We might have lost him. If we did, hey, while
Saudis pretty much takes.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, real quick, Danny gave us a couple super chats. Danny, I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thank you for the love this evening. Let's bring Miguel back here so he can finish his sentence.
I'm telling you, when I started talking some of this stuff, they just instantly,
the feds, bro. The feds have us on a list. If you guys didn't know this, Miguel and I are on a list. Our cell phones are already hit. Now they're getting us on YouTube. I'm telling you, it's getting.
Yeah, I don't know what the last part was that you guys heard.
I lost you probably 3/4 of the way through.
But what was the last thing you heard?
Literally all of a sudden it started going.
That was about that's what we got.
Well, basically it's a big threat, right? All the countries are moving away from the US dollar. Saudi Arabia is talking about taking yuan for oil. Israel taking less reserve. They're moving the reserves out of the US dollar and euros into other currencies, right? This could eventually become cryptocurrencies. It's just a big threat overall, and a lot of countries are moving away from the US dollar, and the US recognizes that threat.
So this is going to be a tough question to answer, but I'm interested to hear this last question, or this last answer, I should say, from you guys. So what is truly more important, making money with crypto or the crypto revolution? I don't care who starts, Josh or Mason.
Josh, you go first, man.
I see two big grins, and it's like, oh boy, here we go.
There's two ways to look at this, in my opinion, and that's, you know, what sucks about the world is we live in a global capitalistic society that it takes money to not only make money but to change money. So you see this with people like FTM. I love SBF, SBF, the CEO of FTM. Okay. It's like he got to a certain point based off arbitrage with stable coins that he doesn't care about how much money he has now. He takes all that money to change what's going on in the world, whether it's donating, whether it's, you know, creating a new platform, focusing on decentralization, giving the power to people. It's all his focus on. So, you know, I would say it really depends. I think obviously the revolution is definitely the most important. As we break through regulations, we have to, you know, make sure that we don't like, if no one stood up and spoke, the government would heavily regulate it and absolutely just collapse innovation. So, you know, there's that factor to it, but there's the other factor of all of us that are in early. We're here to change our lives forever, and focus on giving the power to us and teach each other just how to actually benefit from this crypto technology. So whether it's, you know, moving your company from Web 2 to Web 3, doing, you know, metaverse plays, whatever it is, you know, so I think it has both ends. And I want to hear Mason's thoughts on this, because it might be for more of a spiritual standpoint, which I love as well.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I think part of, like, a major part of the revolution is the right people getting rich. We need the right people to make all the money. So it's like that is a major part of the revolution is certain people who do hold the core values of Web3 getting rich. Like we need those people to have the proper allocated funds to actually do something. Like Josh said, it takes money to change money. It takes money to change anything, basically. So for me, I just know that I have to hold this core like Web3 type of mindset, but then I don't think we'll ever change the world if we don't understand how to play against them properly. Because there, in my opinion, there is an enemy, and nobody has yet to play against them properly. We need to play chess against them, not checkers. Like it needs to be chess. We need to make money off of them and bring it over here and use that to fuel our side until it just kind of like we outbalance them. So what's more important? They're equally important. You need to keep you can make a lot of money here, and hopefully you just keep the Web3 ethos and mindset, and then you can do good with the money.
Miguel?
Yeah. So my stance on that is I would definitely say the revolution is way more important. I understand the key point that many of us got in early are going to make a lot of money, but we can't let the fact that we're making a lot of money because we got in early sway our vision from what it is that crypto is supposed to be, just to keep pumping our bags and get that money richer faster, right? Because that's a lot of the mindset in crypto is how rich can I get and how fast can I do it? Can I do it in the next 2 years? Can I do it in the next 3 years? If that's possible, what I gotta do? Oh, do I just gotta accept this and then comply to this other thing? Yeah, I probably don't really like that, but it's gonna pump my bags, right? So let's do it. I think we need to make sure we keep ourselves in check. The fact I do agree with a lot what Mason is saying. The only things I would disagree with is that we have to be very careful with playing the game of changing the system from within the system, right? There's a saying in Spanish. I know a lot of people won't get it on here, and I'll eventually translate it. But el que anda con mierda se embarra de mierda, and that basically means if you hang out with shit, you're eventually gonna get dirty with shit, right? And that's definitely a problem that a lot of people think in politics. Oh, I'm gonna join the Congress and I'm gonna change Congress. No, you're not. You're gonna get in there and they're gonna say, hey, this is how we play the game, and there's no way out of it. There's more of us than there is of you, and we need to be very careful with that. So I say, yes, the right people do need to get rich. I do agree with that with Mason, right? But they need to make sure that the circles that they're running in are not the circles that we're trying to change, because that change from within, it's never going to happen. You're always going to have resistance and not compliance, as like we're frenemies. We're friends, but we're enemies, and we're working together on beneficial things. I think that relationship eventually always gets corrupted, and it doesn't end up being what we think it is.
I think that comes down to the balance that Mason said as well, because I think if you focus on the revolution too much, you're going to fall into the hands of the wrong people we don't want in charge again, like the IMF, right? You will own nothing and be happy. Like we can revolutionize the space, but as holders and as people that maybe have that Web3 mindset, you have to focus on, it takes money to run nodes. It takes money to have a say in these virtual economies. It's going to take money to have a say in these metaverses, right? So if we sat back and, let this revolution happen, but tried being as, diverse as possible, at the end of the day, I think it's like, I don't know what the right analogy would be for that, but that would be letting the same people that have already won for the last 30 years take over the revolution that we want to change. And that's where that aspect, and that's where I'd say I just agree to disagree on that one with the it just takes money to change money. If you don't, we're going to get stepped on again.
Yeah, I think that this is not a one or the other. First of all, a couple big super chats. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate both of you talking about a great debate tonight. Thank you for all the knowledge. Hey, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you guys are looking to, if you're not already following Mason and Joshua, A, I would be surprised, but B, their information is down below in the information. And then also our NFT drop is happening in the next few months. We are whitelisting people tonight, so make sure you jump into our Discord. That information is down below too. But let me answer the question here. So what's more important, making money with crypto or the crypto revolution? And the problem with the question and the way that we have it structured is that you really do need both, because if we 100%, let's go 100% both ways. If we 100% go just make money, then we forego all of our values. And then the values, like Mason was talking about, of the value of Web3, when that goes out the window, now all of a sudden we're back to where we started, and we didn't get anywhere. Now we go the other direction and we go 100% of moving towards the crypto revolution, and then we don't have the power to be able to fight back. So yeah, I would absolutely agree basically with everybody on the panel that it does take a nice little piece of both. But I do think that people like the IMF, who are openly now, and for everybody in the chat, if you haven't seen any of this, pay attention. There's a reason that our NFT that we're doing has to do with getting prepared and moving forward and being ready for what life can really bring to your doorstep here in the United States or in Canada or Australia or wherever you are. We've already seen it start to happen. You've got to be prepared, okay? And the IMF is openly talking about what they're going to do, where they're going to bring things, and you're going to own nothing and like it. And that's freaking scary, quite honestly. We have already institutions that are buying up all of the real estate in my town right now, buying them at well over market. I've got a buddy that's high up in the real estate chain. They're buying it well over market. For what purpose? They're buying it or they're pushing the prices up for the purpose of when the market does dump, they're able to hold all of that real estate, and they're going to rent it back to each and every one of you, because that's the only thing that you're going to be able to afford to do at that point. There is a movement that's happening right now that if we don't start paying better attention, we are going to be, even, the people on the panel, the people that you think have got things together, people in the chat, whatever, we could all be victim to this. So we need to pay attention to the revolution and make money while we're at it, and then hold on to those core values. So I think that it does take a nice little bit of both. Guys, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it. Mason, Josh, we've talked a number of times before. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it was definitely an awesome experience.
Do.
Talking to you guys in depth about some of these things, not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of the audience and the people watching. Great panel on here. It's just a great discussion overall, and I really appreciate you guys taking your time on a Saturday to come on out.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's Saturday night. You guys could be out drinking and whatever else. We appreciate.
I'm waiting
you
for
guys
NFTLA, man.
Yeah, we'll be Are you coming out tomorrow, Mason?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow, man. Finally gonna meet you in person. But I do want to thank you guys personally for putting these debates on together. It's really hard to find people in the space that are comfortable just openly debating and coming down to a professional mindset and just respecting each other's opinions. I think it's something on TikTok people need to understand a little bit more, but two,
no doubt,
for sure.
It allows people to really find the truth. Allows to hear multiple different aspects, because at the end of the day, we've all done our own biased research. Like I said, I started off as an XRP maxi, went in through a lot of different values. So do want to thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. I think it's really good for the audience.
Yeah,
dude.
Thank you very much. We ultimately want to bring that to the forefront, because we think that crypto can be such an echo chamber sometimes, and it's not about taking a side as much as it is taking a stand and saying, hey, here's what I see, here's the educational side of it, and here's what I believe that looks like. And Josh, I'll tell you, you and Mason both, when we watch your videos, when people watch your videos on TikTok, the reason that you guys do so well, in my estimation, is because you're literally bringing out so much information in a really easy to digest format that what can you do but watch it and understand it and digest it? So we definitely appreciate that from you guys, for real. So Crypto fam, we love you guys. Just remember to question everything,
trust nothing,
and until next time, hodl
like it's hot.
We'll see you soon.
In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader.